5 beers.
Oh, because that's the V?
Yeah.
I'll have 5 beers.
5 beers.
Did you ever hear the one about the rope that walked into the bar? The bartender says, hey, we don't serve ropes here. And so he walks out and he messes up his hair, shakes him around, curls himself up into an sort of spins himself up, walks in and orders a beer. Bartender says, hey, aren't you that rope? He goes, nope, I'm afraid not.
Oh, come on. We all know that one in kindergarten. All right. We've actually been live for 20 seconds now.
Right.
So that joke just made it to the big time.
Love it.
I'm here with my friend Aaron Perry, and we're going to figure out how to frame this so that you can actually see him and not just me. You look great.
You look great.
Oh, thank you. So how long have we known each other?
Well over 10 years at this point, Waylon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're now both around 30 years old.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. A little loose on the math there. I think.
Yeah, exactly. I get looser with math the older I get.
Isn't it fun?
Yeah. So for the first couple minutes, first 10 minutes, people will be tuning in. So welcome everybody to Elephant Live and to Facebook Live. We usually get about 20,000 people in the first 2 hours, which is very exciting. And that's just to block the number, so I don't have to look at it.
Oh, great.
If any of you are tuning in, please say where you're from, and maybe in honor of Aaron and his new book, what was the last great thing you did when you were actually in the soil, in the earth? We're fine, Ashley. Don't worry about it. We're good. We're fine. We're hanging out. Someone's just walking in. Oh, the post office guy.
Just dropping the mail. Hey, guy. He's enjoying the day here.
That's our front yard. There's the post office guy. Alrighty. So Aaron, before we get into the book, just tell us who you are. You're a daddy, and what's your deal? What was your background?
Yeah, so I've been engaged in the soil one way or another, really almost since my early childhood, and some of my earliest memories were hanging out with my dog. Some reason I named him Blue Dog, but he was a white yellow lab. And up in the Pacific Northwest, we would go into the woods literally for hours together and just be in the soil and with the moss and the trees. And
is anyone here from PNW?
Yeah.
Say where you're from. Yeah.
And well, the weather today reminds me so much of that too. It's cloudy and rainy here in Boulder, which is wonderful.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm wearing a sweater, a jacket, and wool pants for the first time, I think, of the year. It's been very hot here.
Yeah, and so just the other day, Winter and I were. You got Winter on there? Winter Wall.
Hi.
Winter Wall.
Winter Wall. That's quite a name.
It is.
She's quite a gal.
Do people mention Game of Thrones all the time now?
All the time.
Yeah.
And I've never seen it.
I'm glad I haven't mentioned it then. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we were just the other day taking a break from our Kickstarter campaign, which we launched last Tuesday, and went out to the garden and looked around in the soil to see what was happening. And for the first time, we've got garden giant mushrooms coming up, which are edible. We cooked some up. But we
cooked them?
Yeah, we did. They're delicious. Little red onion sauteed. Perfect.
With like olive oil or what?
Olive oil is great for people that like grass-fed butter. That's another great way to do it.
Right.
But anyway, we planted some inoculated wood chips from Paul Stamets' company up in the Pacific Northwest, where they're selling so many different beautiful products related to mushrooms and fungus. Fungi Perfecti is the name of the company, and we inoculated the garden about 15 months ago. And these were the first mushrooms we've seen since then. So it's a beautiful metaphor.
What does inoculating a garden mean?
So you get the mycelium, from the mushrooms, which is kind of like seeds in a way, and you put them into the garden or into the wood chips or into some part of your yard or neighborhood, and after time they get established in the soil and do all kinds of wonderful things with the plants and actually cause even greater rates of carbon sequestration in the soil than would otherwise occur.
So that's where they're sequestering, sucking the pollution basically back into the earth and processing it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. There's this term called the recarbonizing of the soil, which is one of the ways we can pull some of the fossil greenhouse gases out of the atmosphere and put it in the soil. And meanwhile,
So if you want to fight climate change,
Yeah.
you can plant mushrooms everywhere
yes,
and then eat them.
that's right. Depending on the species, right?
Oh,
There
okay,
are some
right.
that are good for eating, and some like reishi that tend to grow more on hardwoods that are good for medicine. But the garden giant is actually great in the vegetable garden.
What's garden
And,
giant? That kind of
Yes.
mushroom?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So as everyone can see, I'm the dumb guy in this conversation. Let me just say hello to a few folks, and you can also say hello. Trisha, Jen, Rochelle,
Good morning, guys.
Ilana, Leslie from Tustin, a regular, California. If you guys have any questions about the soil, about being a super cool parent, about his new book, which we're going to talk about, Renee is on. I think Nicole is on. Renee is also here. So Nicole, if you can put the link to his new book, to the Kickstarter. We've just announced, it doesn't appear yet, but I don't think, but at the $35 level where you get the book.
Yeah.
Any readers who see this video, any viewers who see this video, will get a 1-year subscription to Elephant Journal.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, it's a
So
$19
great.
value.
Yeah, really
and
appreciate that, Waylon.
Totally. Well, we go way back, and it's a great cause. And then if you already have a subscription, you can just give it to someone else, so it can be a gift.
That's
So
a great
Trisha, Gatesville, Texas, Sam, Spokane.
There we go. Yeah. Washington.
Yeah.
Portland.
Oops.
Nice.
I'm trying to like your comment, not delete it. Rochelle from Portland. Jewel from the Philippines. Makati, Ohio. Slidell, Louisiana. Rochelle, Forest Park is amazing. It's in the city. It's the quickest way to get into the forest.
Nice.
Yeah, Nicole, please put that Kickstarter link in here if you can. Jonathan, Bryant, Alabama. Yes, this guy is very knowledgeable.
Probably talking about you, Waylon.
Yeah. I'm slightly more knowledgeable than I am in videos, but not much. Janet, sharing my morning coffee, and this is way better than the TV.
Yes.
Yeah, this is truly grassroots stuff.
really is.
You know, we're trying to highlight people who don't already make millions of dollars a year, though nothing's wrong with that, and who are trying to work, you know, for our children, grandchildren's benefit, and ourselves. Katie, Boston, Christina, New York, and Janet, New Mexico. All right.
Awesome.
Back to, so tell me about, so you just wrote a book, or you're writing it.
Yep, we're just finishing up the editing and have been writing it in earnest here for about a year and a half.
And is this your first book?
It is. Yeah, I've written some other things
Right.
over time, but
But
the
it's
first
hard to write a book, right?
I would say it's hard and delightful.
Uh-huh.
I really enjoy it, and when you get in that flow, it's beautiful. I mean, and I gotta say, it may sound a bit corny. I like corn, but
Yeah.
sometimes I really feel a connection with the divine presence, and that certain, you know, combinations of words and concepts just kind of morph and synthesize through the process itself, it's just a beautiful experience.
So yeah, often, I mean, that's really interesting. We were talking about it, Winter and I, briefly when we were over at the cafe, that often the discussion of the environment is sort of bad news.
Yeah.
Everything's going wrong, or it's practical, like you're talking about gardening, or it's scientific. But rarely does it seem that we talk about God, or we talk about the benefits the soil has for, you know, like Buddhist people like me, just de-stressing and bringing you back to the present.
Yeah.
For everyone who's tuning in, what is, you know, tell me about soil,
Sure.
because maybe we haven't thought about it that much.
It's really central. So in the book, which is called Why on Earth, you know, the subtitle is How We Will Get Smarter, Feel Better, and Heal the Planet. And we're exploring somewhat science, somewhat spiritual and wisdom traditions, and even stuff I learned from my grandfather when I was a little kid. That we have some of these threads of knowledge and wisdom that have been our experience as humans for countless generations. And right now, at this juncture, the way that we're interfacing and experiencing, you know, rapidly accelerating technological development and you know, hyper urbanization of our living and working environments, many of us are disconnected from living soil in a way that previous generations just simply weren't.
Yeah,
and
we might spend like 5 hours playing video games or
Sure.
arguing on Facebook about the new iPhone not having, headphone jack.
Right.
But
Yeah, that's
but
true.
we don't really like. I have somewhat dirty nails, I'm proud to say. But
Nice. That's legit.
but we even myself included, being in Boulder, the sort of hippie paradise that it is, we rarely interact with the soil.
Yeah, and this is kind of where the get smarter, feel better part comes in. I remember as a kid, I asked my grandfather, and it seemed like he always was doing one of three things. He was usually walking, working in his garden, or reading. And it seems, wow, and in fact, he's got his 99th birthday coming up next month, and we're so excited about Grandpa Bear, we call him, so it's a shout out for Grandpa Bear up in New
Grandpa
York.
Bear, wow.
And, I remember being up in his garden as a kid with him and saying, Grandpa, why do you garden so much? And, I was maybe 7, 8 years old and thought it'd be way more fun to run around and play tag or throw the football or something. And he said, well, it makes me feel better. And for some reason, that just stuck with me. Because I think I could see the look in his eye where he was really telling me something literal. He wasn't being figurative. He was
Right.
being literal. This
He
makes
wasn't
me
also-
feel better.
He wasn't being philosophical or
No.
Ideological. He wasn't saying it's
No.
a good moral thing. He was just saying
This makes you feel
practically,
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now the science is at the point where we're understanding a lot of complexity in our bodies, in our neurosystems. We're able to see the very small, microecology within living soil. And lo and behold,
Ashley, we're fine.
we now know that truly interacting with soil produces serotonin, enhances our serotonin production. It actually causes interactions within our complex neurochemical system that makes us feel better.
So for those of us who don't know or think about serotonin or neurological this or that, basically it de-stresses us.
Yeah.
It brings us back to the present moment from all of our neurotic kind of speediness.
Yes. Yep.
And if, like most of us, we spend too much time, definitely including myself, after a long day at work on my laptop and phone, and I do some good stuff like biking around or trying to eat real food or talking with human beings, but I'll often go home and my way of vegging out or recovering is to open up my laptop and watch a movie.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day, you just feel like, wow, I had 14 hours looking at a screen.
Screen
today.
time. Yeah. We talk about that a little bit in the book. We've got a chapter called Unplug. And you know what? I'm on screens a lot.
Yeah.
I like watching movies.
Right.
And for most of us, and arguably, just about all of us tuning in right now, we spend a fair bit of time on screens in our lives. And that's something that just simply wasn't happening a few generations ago.
Right.
And it leaves us at a point in time when thinking more consciously about choices we have to engage with soil, to leave our phone at home and go on a walk, to go into a park and look at trees.
Yeah.
And
Or even to go to bed and turn your phone off.
Yeah.
Like we've done some videos on that, and people are like, I can't turn my phone off. I mean, what if something happens? It's like, well, if you have that attitude, which is understandable, then there's a small part of your brain that never is going to fully relax. You're kind of on guard.
Yeah.
You need to allow yourself to just completely rest once in a while, like every night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love what Thich Nhat Hanh says about rest. And I think it's in his little book, How to Relax. And he just talks about how, animals periodically will just go and sleep for a couple days, or if they're wounded, they'll go curl up and sleep somewhere. And in our culture, we've come to probably undervalue rest, it could be said. And I think that's, one of the things that we could all perhaps consider a little bit more, allowing ourselves that time to just kind of recover, slow down, chill out a little bit.
But and when we do rest as a culture, we tend to crash, and there tends to be some depression involved. Speaking personally, you don't rest, you don't rest, you don't rest, you don't rest, you don't rest. I can't rest, I don't have time to rest, I don't have time to exercise, I don't have time to eat without working or sitting down. And then you crash on Saturday or Sunday, and you're like, oh.
Yep.
And we need to, like Dave Rogers, who just walked in. Dave, what do you say about napping?
It's the most civilized thing you can do.
It's
I love
it's like
it.
the sign of a civilized
Life. Your
Life.
life is in balance if you can nap.
Your life is in balance if you can afford to nap once in a
Amen.
while.
Amen.
And
Love
yeah,
it.
I love
the
that.
most civilized thing you can do. Can we quote you on that?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, we just did, I think. Yeah. So if any of you have questions for Aaron, and while you're here, you can click on the Kickstarter link, even if you don't want to fund it. Check out the book, check out the video,
Yeah.
so you have more of an idea what he's talking about. But so what does the book go into? Does it kind of take us through some sort of path or journey in this?
Yeah, it really does. So,
And this isn't like an infomercial for me. I am asking as someone
Yeah.
who doesn't really cook that much,
Uh-huh.
doesn't garden that much. I have a garden that is very embarrassing if you went and looked at it. And I'm on technology all the time. So for someone like me, would your book speak to me, or is it kind of for gardening people?
well, I hope it really would
Yeah.
speak to you, and I think that we've really written it in a manner that it's not so much meant for the choir, so to speak. It's really meant for all kinds of regular folks, of which I consider myself one, and so it's written in 33 chapters, and it's kind of just a guided adventure, a journey through a number of interrelated chapters. We've got something on walking, a chapter called Walk, and literally just how important to our minds and our bodies walking is. And that, boy, it seems so simple. And we walk a lot less now in our generation than our grandparents and great-grandparents did.
Well, and this is what we do when we walk too. We're like texting, bumping into things, walking off cliffs, texting.
Yeah. And yeah, there's a whole
It's frightening. Like
don't forget to look up, right?
Right. That's
Yeah.
nice. Look at the sky.
Yeah.
It's frightening when I bike up. My bank is, what do you call it? What's the hippie kind of bank? Credit union. So I bike up to my credit union, which happens to be owned by or part of the University of Colorado, and I go there, and generationally, this is a kids these days moment, but kids these days, they over all campus, like if you just got out of jail for like
Yes.
20 years and
Yeah.
you went up to
Yeah.
the University of Colorado campus, you'd be like, what just happened?
Right.
Like it's like a zombie attack. Everyone's just walking around on their phones,
Yeah.
oblivious of traffic or bikes or each other.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's wild. It's
Yeah.
interesting. My daughter is 18 years old and just finished high school, and she and some of her friends who are native technologists basically don't really remember a time before the internet, and they are becoming more and more aware of the impacts of technology in their lives and are choosing actively to unplug from time to time, which is just really interesting to hear them talking about. These things, they do affect us. And I think we live in a time of incredible power, right? We are utilizing so much energy day to day, and we have access to so much information. I mean, kings couldn't have dreamt of this a few hundred years ago.
Right.
And it means we also have so much agency and ultimately choice to create the lives that we want to create the culture we want to create, right? We're creating culture right now, a whole bunch of us.
Right.
And to me, that's incredibly encouraging if we slow down a bit and just think a bit about what do we really want to create together? Because guess what? We live in a time, an incredible, very special point in human history where we really do have agency on a scale and cultural creativity capacity on a scale that was not imaginable a few generations ago.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. That was really well said. Nicole, if you can make a note for to quote that one. But there was this photo on Reddit the other day of a typical office in like 1880 or something, and it's so different. It's beautiful, like Victorian wood, oak furniture, and a bunch of file systems, and a secretary taking notes, and a guy smoking his pipe, and that's like it. And you look at it and you're like, wow, that's the most relaxed room I've ever seen. I mean, there's some sort of, obviously, you're kind of projecting based on our experience of our offices. And our office, is pretty relaxed, I guess, if you look at it. There's Ashley stressing out about an edit. But there is something delightful about I think often we criticize technology and we criticize screen time, but there's something delightful about the notion that we can, it's a smaller world.
Yeah.
We're more connected.
Yeah.
Things like civil rights, like equal rights for our gay brothers and sisters, hopefully can expand more quickly.
Yes.
And atrocities can, like in Syria, what's going on,
Yes.
The whole world can begin to care. So there's a lot of power that we have, but we don't tend to. So you talk about gratitude.
Yeah.
We don't tend to be grateful or to use that power for good in a way.
Yeah, maybe that's a good opportunity to just pause for a minute. And I don't know, Waylon, if it's a good time for you to lead us through a little meditation, but it might be nice to close our eyes and kind of enter into that with some gratitude.
Sure. So gratitude is a big part of this book, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So gratitude is a small to big part of all of our lives. So let's just take a great posture, a really good posture, the best posture you've had in a week. And then, everyone can do this wherever you are. Great posture, but then relax it so it's not uptight. Aaron talks a lot about a sense of humor. You can have a sense of humor with your posture. You can close your eyes today. And just find your breath in and out. So in the Buddhist practice of gratitude, you can begin by thinking of a family member or a friend or a lover or a dog or a cat, anything you're close to that you feel gratitude for. So just think of that person or animal, anything intimately in your life that you feel grateful for, and breathe. If you want to think of a few people, that's fine. Just think of them specifically with gratitude and breathe. And now, without rushing, let's think of some people you don't think about that much. Maybe you're a barista, a waiter, a waitress, librarian, a teacher of your children or yourself. Maybe someone you take for granted. Try and think of someone you take for granted who you also appreciate. Think of them with gratitude and breathe. Now think of people who you dislike actively, who you're irritated by, threatened by. In Buddhism, we would call them enemies. Think of people who are bad influences in your life. And try to find something very fundamental to feel grateful for around them. Maybe if only the experience that they gave you that forced you or allowed you to grow. Think of even your enemies with gratitude and breathe. Now finally, feel your body, feel your fingertips, feel your neck, feel your shoulders, feel your heart. Think of your own life and your history, your years, your birthdays, your path. Think of the parts of yourself you don't like and that you do like. Think of yourself with gratitude and friendliness. Maybe the first time you've done that in a little while. And breathe. So we could all put our hands together if you feel inspired and open your eyes, and we could bow to one another.
Namaste.
in gratitude. So thank you for inspiring that.
Thank you, Waylon.
That's just Buddhism 101. So if you liked it, I can't take credit. If you disliked it, it's because can I swear? Maybe I can't.
It's up to
I
you.
messed it up. There tend to be some parents with children watching this. Oh, yeah. So, JR, I do have a Hillary clip on. That wasn't really intentional. I was just at a party where I had the pin. And I don't think she's perfect, but I do think we can engage in mutual respect and agreeable disagreement in America. In fact, we have to. We're all in the same boat. So if you're going to say F you and goodbye to people you disagree with, it's going to be a very small community. And you'll be surrounded by yes men, which if you ask Elvis Presley, wasn't that fun. There's a wonderful book series that I read, The Rise and Fall of Elvis Presley, and his fall began the moment his lovely mom passed away. And he, for the first time, was only surrounded by people he could tell to go to hell if they gave him some truth that he didn't feel good in the moment. So JR, if you want to be tough, you got to be willing to listen to some feedback that you may dislike from time to time. And I could be the same, I have to listen to you. So it's a mutual thing.
Yeah, and Waylon, with this project, Why on Earth?
Yeah.
We're really presenting this information and adventure and journey to people regardless of political affiliation. I've got a lot of friends and family, very conservative.
Yeah.
Other friends and family, very liberal. One of the things I love for those who pray is to pray for all of our leaders. And we really are all connected as a global family. And we live in a time when our actions and decisions and choices are truly affecting one another in our own homes, in our own neighborhoods, halfway around the world. It's real, and it's literal, as my grandpa might remind me.
Right.
And so for those of us who do pray, I think praying for all of our leaders at this time is something we can do. And this notion of humility, which I think goes with gratitude, is an interesting word. And I went to a Catholic high school with the Jesuits. Very grateful for some wonderful Jesuit educators in my life, and so learned some Latin, took a few years of Latin, and was really interested to discover this word humility comes from this root, hum, H-U-M, and it's the same root we get the word human from. So humility, human, it's the same root we get the word humor from, right? So humor, humility are somehow related, human, humor, humility. And it's the same root that we get the word humus, which is soil, Latin for soil. So we are very much in this adventure together on earth.
So soil, humility, or humbleness,
Yes.
and humor are all from the same root.
As the word human.
Right.
Yes. Yep.
Right. And you can grow garbanzo beans, right?
And
from
make
the
hummus.
soil and make hummus.
Yes. It's true.
Which is an obvious joke, but we had to get.
Well, and speaking of hummus, a lot of our friends and family in the Mediterranean region love it. It's part of our cultural tradition, and food figures very prominently in this project. And over half of the humans on Earth.
Everyone's saying, "Wow, cool, amazing." And if you like what you're hearing from Aaron, I don't have many guests on here. Give them a like or a love. I'm seeing a lot of likes stream across, and also big respect and love to our friend JR. I love, if I can interrupt your incredible eloquence. Everyone's going to be mad at me, but I love what you said, which is like liberals don't own environmentalism,
Correct,
and conservatives don't own prayer. Like there are liberal folks who have a great deal of humility and love for whatever you called it so eloquently, the spirit or God
divine
or divine presence.
Yeah.
And there are many conservatives who love, you go to these like mountain towns and they got huge posters of Yosemite or whatever on the wall, who love America the Beautiful.
Yes.
And we've allowed media, often like Elephant is independent media. I can't tell you how rare that is these days. we've allowed media, which wants to feed off of conflict, to make thoughtful stories about right versus wrong or us versus them, and to divide us.
Yeah.
And when we buy into that, we're suckers wherever we live, and we're not suckers, so don't buy into it.
Right.
So back to you.
Absolutely. And you know, thinking at a level that is non-polarizing is so important right now. And this isn't political. What we're talking about, this is about being human. This is about our relationship with the living soil on the planet that is what allows us all to be alive here. If it weren't for the soil, none of us would be here.
Right, none of us.
And it's even in our sacred traditions, you know, in the book of Genesis. And over half of the people on the planet, Muslim, Jew, or Christian, identify with the book of Genesis as a creation story. And in that book, in the sacred Hebrew, when God creates man, God creates Adam or Adam. He creates Adam or Adam from soil, from clay, Adamah. And
What is Adamah?
a rabbi friend was telling Winter and me just earlier this year, Adamah is soil. So the word for the first human in Genesis and the word for soil are almost the same word. We are truly beings and creatures of the soil. That's not political.
Right. Yeah, and so what is this? So if I'm going to read this book, is it just sort of this kind of discussion, or are there practical things I can, like what, you know? Again, I'm a sort of Speedy.
Yeah, you're Speedy Gonzalez, right?
I'm Speedy Gonzalez, and I'm Speedy Lewis, and you know, are there exercises or workshops, or what can I specifically kind of practice?
Absolutely, yeah. We do a lot of life hacks. Present a lot of life hacks that relate to food and soil and getting our hands in the dirt, preparing batch meals on the weekend that we can eat through the week, that is a healthier and even more economical option to some of the quick purchase options we might rely on.
So it
many
could
of
be
those
cheaper.
days. Very much so, and healthier.
Yeah.
And give you that time with your family, with your close friends, a couple hours on the weekend making food together. And the amount of oxytocin, the neuroscientists are talking now about how much that time with family preparing food is so critical and integral to our feel-good hormones, and literally will help stave off things like depression. So incorporating some of these simple life hacks literally right at our fingertips.
Right.
And we talk a lot about, what if the world we want is right at our fingertips? And these are things all of us can choose to do. It's a matter of probably watching a little less TV, or making some time that we might otherwise use a different way. But it yields incredible joy, health, well-being. I love the word well-being. My friend David Bright, he's a medical doctor, told me recently it comes from this Middle English word waylay. And waylay is also where we get the word wealth. So if we go a little back in time, our word for wealth and our word for well-being are actually from the same understanding or conceptual framework that our forebears would have understood themselves. So,
And that this food and this cooking together, and that can give us renewed well-being and heal us and save us money with healthcare or with bad processed packaged food that we're not enjoying, that maybe we're overeating.
Perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to overeat. I eat twice as much when I'm Speedy because I forget to enjoy it, and then I want more because I still want to enjoy it.
That's interesting. Yeah, let us slow down a little, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we're doing this Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And we just launched it on Tuesday.
Tell me about that.
Right? And it's going really well so far. We've got this initial goal that it looks like we would likely hit here over the course of the next couple of weeks, but we're going to put out some stretch goals that are basically ways of sharing life hacks with folks and helping to really create the culture that we all want for ourselves, for our children, if we have children, for future generations. And my hope is that all of us here today would consider looking at the Kickstarter, sharing with friends, getting the word out there.
Yeah.
And we're really putting this out there to help, move the needle in our cultural evolution that's underway at a time when it's pretty important that we consider some of these things.
So Aaron is the kind of, we talk about this. Yeah, the link for the book, maybe Nicole, you could put it in again. But I kickstarted my book. I often call this the Kickstarter generation because it really is having the ability to crowdfund means that Aaron and myself and many others can go outside of the system, which often doesn't support important books or important, in Elephant Journal's case, hopefully important articles that you want to read that maybe aren't as they're not about Kim Kardashian's butt necessarily, but they are about something that can actually help you in your life and your stress. And if they are about her butt, hopefully it's about getting to love your body and accept your body as it is. So do check out the Kickstarter link, Nicole, if you can put it back in there. Elephant really, wants to support and do our part to support Aaron's book. So yeah, there's the link in that comment there.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that's great.
And we only work with sponsors who are eco, who care about our children, our children's children, who are good people. So we're really honored to work with you and to try and support your Kickstarter and your book.
Really appreciate it, Waylon.
So do you maybe want to, I love the visualization of how you're writing this book. When did you start writing it?
Yeah. So I actually took my kids. So I mentioned my daughter who's 18. My son is 14. My daughter's name's Osha. My son's name is Hunter. And 3 years ago, took them down to the Pacific coast in Mexico. And they being, teenagers, preteens, they tend to sleep in a couple, 2-3 hours longer than I did in the morning. And I was away from my work, away from my very busy life up here in Colorado, and would go get a coffee, sit down with my computer, and this book just started to flow. And it was incredible, this sense of flow and ease and just real delight in the way these words were coming through. Of course, these are things I've been studying and thinking about and working on for many, many years.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how this book came into being. And over the course of the past year and a half, I've been able to spend a whole lot of my time really crafting it and rounding out the research and putting it together and having conversations with Winter and a number of other really thoughtful and informed folks. And we're putting this 33 chapters out there to folks in a way that we hope will make really accessible some of these life hacks, some of these different ways of looking at issues that might otherwise be really scary or polarizing, overwhelming. Right. And this is a hopeful time. We have so much ability now as a human species, and I believe we really can choose to create a sustainable culture and a sustainable future together. And as we're creating our culture together, it is all essentially a matter of our individual and family and neighborhood choices, where we're going with this whole thing.
You talk a lot about the word healing or heal. So I think all of us feel that we want to heal or slow down or relax or be present or enjoy our friends or family or community more. How can this book help with that? Or does it?
Well, we have a chapter called Heal.
Yeah.
And it's right toward the end. It's really kind of the crescendo of this adventure. And what we've kind of experienced and uncovered looking through the veil of popular consumer culture is that we probably each have a need or an opportunity to heal for whatever reason it might be.
Yeah.
Our planet certainly has a lot of need to heal. The more we can heal our planet, the more we choose to heal our planet, the more we end up getting healed in return. There's a lot of research coming out around soldiers coming back from war zones or others who have suffered real trauma, and interacting with soil and growing living things helps with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, right? The science is there. The medical community is really starting to understand how important these complex linkages in our ecosystems are. And we in our own lives have a lot of need and opportunity to heal. How we each go about doing that, I think, is very personal. But I believe the more we each choose to heal, the more we're all able to have the capacity and the agency to create the culture and the world that we really want.
Wow. You speak in the kind of quotes that I have to like write down and then edit.
Yeah.
It's well done. So I can only imagine your writing. All right. So we're going to have to wrap up. I'll look at comments real quick, but if you have questions, put them in and we'll try and get back to all of you. We are offering the $19 subscription to Elephant Journal for a full year to read unlimited for anyone who gets the book, $35 and up.
Yep, through the Kickstarter campaign.
Yeah, from today on. So jump on in. If you wanted an Elephant Journal subscription, now's your chance to get the book as well. And
if you already have a subscription, you could give the your subscription as a gift to somebody that you know or love. So that's another option, right?
Exactly. You can always give it away as a gift. And giving the gift of mindfulness, as we like to say.
Yes.
But all right, well, thank you to Aaron. Let's all give Aaron
Waylon.
some love, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you,
And
brother.
good luck on Kickstarter.
Yes,
and
thank
we
you.
can help them
Thanks,
have good
everybody.
luck if you're so inspired. Get in there. And we will, someone found my favorite coffee kicking horse, which I stole from Dave. All right, so
lot
we'll
of
get back
comments
to
about
any
hummus.
relevant, people love hummus.
Yes.
All righty, folks. Thank you so much. And check out the Kickstarter. If nothing else, just you can read his thoughts there. Yeah, give it a like or a share if you enjoyed it.
Awesome.
Let me know. And if you do enjoy it, then we'll have more guests on as well. And you'll get to hear less of me.